Hello there, I'm Cody the Coin Raptor, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about what's going on with Kraken and if they're in any danger at all. There's some very important news that just broke recently, and I want to go ahead and talk about that. But I also want to go ahead and talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin price and my expectations for the Bitcoin price over the coming week, and some very important Bitcoin options that are set to expire on Friday. But before we get to that, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit that like button, and be sure to share this video and follow me on X. Bitcoin today has had a relatively quiet day. I mean, it's only up about 0.5%. That's not a lot. Ethereum also only up 0.5%. And BNB actually up to 3.7%. So we're going to go ahead and get into the first thing I want to talk about, which is the fact that Kraken has been accused by the SEC of operating unregistered platform. And here's the key point: improperly mixing customer funds. Okay, so the SEC has sued the crypto exchange Kraken. Okay, and they're basically alleging that Kraken is selling unregistered securities. That's not anything new. They've done that to Coinbase, they've done that to Binance. But what is key is the fact that they are alleging that Kraken, the exchange, has mixed in $5 billion worth of customers' cash and commingles some of the customers' cash with some of its own. So that is a major concern. If you guys remember what happened with FTX, FTX did that commingling of funds rather than having them as separate pieces. And as a result, they lost a significant amount of customers' funds, of customers' crypto, and of their fiat. And they were unable to pay their debts, and they were largely insolvent. Okay, so that's the problem that we have here. If Kraken has been mixing customer funds with the company money, that presents a risk. Now, personally, I got to see all the facts first before I render a judgment, but I don't personally use Kraken. I don't really put a lot of trust in exchanges these days. And so as a result, I have a very small number of exchanges I use. I pretty much only use a Coinbase or maybe something like a KuCoin. That would wind up being something that I'd be thinking about. But these private companies like Kraken and Crypto.com, I'm staying away from them. I don't want anything to do with them because they're not regulated, they're not public companies, and you have no idea what their balance sheet looks like and what assets they're actually holding that are liquid and what aren't liquid. So right now, we're gonna have to see how this plays out. I want to go ahead and update the story as soon as I get more information. But for now, just know that Kraken is being targeted by the SEC, like a lot of these crypto companies. So we're gonna go ahead and get into our Bitcoin story here. So Bitcoin. Let me go ahead and put up the volume here. So Bitcoin over the last couple of days has been on a very nice uptrend. We have the 20-day EMA right here, this blue line. This has provided very nice support for Bitcoin over the past couple of days. We've seen it come down, touch it, and basically retreat all the way upwards. We can see here that our next resistance level is going to be about 38K. And I feel very confident saying that if Bitcoin does, in fact, get past this 38K region, it is entirely very possible we'll see 40K. And I do believe we're going to wind up seeing 40K by the end of the year. But that being said, it is very possible that Bitcoin will continue to hit its head on this resistance point at 38K and pull back a little bit. I mean, if we take a look at our RSI, our relative strength index for the daily, we can see that we're still at about 65, which is very close to being overbought. The momentum in Bitcoin has been incredibly strong. The buyers have been pushing the price even higher. Shorts have gotten squeezed, and the price continues its absolutely meteoric climb over the past couple of months. And quite frankly, it is due for Bitcoin to have a pullback, and a pullback would be very healthy. And again, I think that a proper pullback target would be here at about 33K. But then again, it is also very possible that Bitcoin will continue its incredible momentum and climb even higher. But I do think that we are going to have to pull back. Eventually, Bitcoin is going to have to pull back. I do believe Bitcoin, if it If it actually loses support at 35,500, it will come back down and retest this 33K level. But on the other hand, if it climbs above 38K, we're going to see 40K. I have very confident in making the assumption, though this is not financial advice, that Bitcoin will be at 40K by the end of the year. But again, it's not going to be a straight path up, or it's not going to be easy. Like we saw this completely easy streak going up all the way up here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at our Bitcoin, our futures contracts real quick. And futures contracts right now, what they're showing us is that the traders are incredibly bullish. They're green. Longs are strong. Longs have been increasing their positions here. If you take a look at open interest, you can see the number of contracts continues to climb. So we're seeing more longs enter the market here. We're seeing shorts get obliterated. Shorts get completely destroyed down here in these liquidations. We've had significant liquidations, 7.8 million here, 5.5 million here, 3.5 million here, and $6 million with the short liquidations. And this all happened within the span of about a day or two. So shorts right now have been getting pummeled. And if we take a look at our updated liquidation heat map, we can see that the next level of liquidity that we have here is about 38,800. So if Bitcoin does come up to 38,800, those shorts will be squeezed and Bitcoin will be headed over 38K. But for now, they're sitting right at this level. They're betting that the Bitcoin price will not go above 37,800. And in fact, they're betting on more downside. But I also want to go ahead and talk about the larger scope of Bitcoin, okay? So the Bitcoin halving is going to be happening approximately April 18th of 2024, okay? So those of you know, Bitcoin halving happens, the number of rewards for miners gets cut in half. So half as many Bitcoin are coming online. And now we're going to wind up seeing that pushing into this halving, we're going to have some incredible momentum. And then we're going to wind up seeing some continued momentum afterwards. We've seen in the past when Bitcoin has gone through its halving, we've seen that lead to a large rally in the Bitcoin prices like what happened back in 2020. And a large increase in the number of people that are interested in buying Bitcoin and transacting on the blockchain. That tends to increase as well. So we're going to have this major demand driver here in about 149 days, okay? Keep this in mind. I'm going to keep coming back to this as we get closer. We're going to be counting this down. Now, another thing I want to point out is if we go over here to the CME group, we take a look at the CME group, Bitcoin futures and options. Remember, this is the only way that traditional finance can interact with Bitcoin currently. We see that the volume for this continues to be fairly high. The volume is up. The open interest is up. The past couple of days, especially the last week, we've seen increased amounts of volume here. And if you go ahead and take a look at the 2 previous weeks to there, you can see that it's actually hasn't been very high, but then we get to the 14th of November, and we're starting to see an uptick in the number of contracts and the number of options as well are for futures. And we're starting to see that the traditional finance community is betting ahead of this halving that there's going to be positive price action. You're seeing increased institutional interest in Bitcoin, which I always think is a good thing. Next, I want to go ahead and talk about the options. So I mentioned before that there's a large options expiry, there is going to be one here at the 24th of November. That's going to be this Friday. We can see here that we have about $2.2 billion worth of call options set to expire that day, and about $1.6 billion worth of puts set to expire that day. So expect on the 24th of November or a couple days prior to that, we're going to wind up seeing huge volatility, the price moving up drastically in up or down heading into that Friday. If we take a look at the max pain price for that day on the 24th, we can see it's 32,000. Okay, so options are going to be trying to push the price down to 32K. And this right here would also validate the idea that Bitcoin basically needs to have a substantial pullback in order to give the buyers time to reset and then move higher, okay? Because there's been nonstop buying momentum ever since the 14th of October. So almost for a straight month, there's been nothing but buying going on here. So options, the max pain price right now is pushing, giving us the idea that these options traders are going to be wind up trying to get Bitcoin around 32K before Friday, which I don't think personally will happen, but we'll see what happens. And if it does happen, then I will make a video about that, and we'll talk about that when it happens. But 32K or somewhere close to 32K is where they're going to be trying to push the price. But Bitcoin still remains very strong. We take a look at the network hash rate. We can see that the hash rate is at another all-time high. This is just crazy. It just keeps moving up and moving up and moving up. There's no break in this hash. The hash rate continues to move higher and make a new all-time high. There are more miners that are currently online. There are more people out there mining Bitcoin at this time. And we do tend to follow that with the hash rate, it tends to follow the price. So the price goes up, hash rate tends to go up, more miners are taken, they're increasing the number of miners that are online. These ASICs, these mining rigs, continue to move the hash rate even higher. So we're also going to go ahead and cover the major events for this week, and we talk about the economic reports. Today, not a whole lot going on. That's kind of why I want to talk about what's going to happen later on this week. Tuesday, we have existing home sales. We also have Fed minutes for the FOMC meeting. That can always cause a little bit of a ruckus and kind of get people a little stirred up depending on what they think is going on in the FOMC. You also have jobless claims as well. On the 22nd, they have the consumer sentiment, so how consumers are feeling right now. Thursday is a holiday, and Friday is the flash services PMI. Not a huge week for economic reports because of the holiday, but just know that if we get any sort of volatility this week, apart from what I've already mentioned, it might come here on Tuesday for the minutes of the Fed meeting. Another thing that's happening Tuesday that I don't have listed here, but needs to be said, Tuesday after the market closes, NVIDIA, the GPU manufacturer, is going to be reporting earnings, and that can also drive Bitcoin because a lot of those cards are used to mine Bitcoin. Okay, so keep that in mind that we're going to wind up seeing significant volatility after hours on Tuesday when they report. Okay, so that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about the Kraken SEC case. If you think that the SEC is overreaching, or if you think that it's fair that they should be scrutinizing these companies, definitely I'm very interested in hearing about it. Leave a comment below, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.